Hey trainers, I'm Andrew, and I'm so happy that we're finally getting to explore Galar in Pokemon Sword and Shield. And while I'm having fun leveling up my score bunny and catching new Pokemon in the wild area, I have something to get off my chest. I kinda miss the old games.
Pikachu!
I know, I'm really showing my age here, but there's something so magical about the first few entries, something the latest releases haven't captured in a really long time despite all the new bells and whistles. I'm still waiting for Nintendo to live up to the standard set by what I think is the perfect pocket monster game, Pokemon Gold and Silver. So today, in honor of the 8th gen critically hitting the Nintendo Switch, I want to talk about how the mainline Pokemon games evolved. How did Game Freak develop a formula fans would play for more than 2 decades? What are newer games lacking that Pokemon Gold and Silver have in spades? And what other game series can we leave in the daycare with Sword and Shield to hatch the next great Pokemon game? This is Pokemon, the Gold and Silver Standard. Before we can talk about Sword and Shield, and even before we talk about Gold and Silver, we have to talk about Poke Fever.
Bulbasaur!
Venusaur!
This Poke Fever is making my head sore.
As a kid, Pokemon creator Satoshi Tajiri roamed the Japanese countryside, catching insects with a net, leading to his childhood nickname, Dr. Bug. Soon, he found a slightly less disgusting hobby in video games, and he founded a fanzine called Game Freak in 1981. When Game Freak decided to actually branch out into development in 1990, Tajiri took a look at Nintendo's Game Boy and came up with a concept inspired by his insect obsession. He envisioned bugs crawling between the Game Link cable that connected 2 systems, allowing trainers to not just battle their creatures, but trade and exchange them in the great pursuit of catching them all. Pokemon featured 150 unique monsters that players could add to their ranks, but Tajiri split them up into 2 separate games, Red and Green, each with 11 version exclusive monsters, meaning players would have to trade with each other in order to fully complete their Pokedex.
Grab a link cable and a friend with a Game Boy, and with both packs you can catch them all. Gotcha!
Now, recruiting monsters wasn't new to JRPGs. Dragon Quest V and Shin Megami Tensei popularized the concept years earlier, but it was the social aspect that made Pokemon revolutionary. It took 4 developers 6 years to create Pokemon Red and Green, and even when it was finally complete, Nintendo had no idea how successful their Collect 'em All franchise would be.
It's such a craze and people like them so much, they tend to steal.
Oh no, don't shoot me, please!
The games were released in Japan on February 27, 1996 on the aging Game Boy console. It received a fairly positive reaction, but things really took off thanks to the popular Japanese magazine CoroCoro, which ran a contest awarding the legendary 151st Pokemon Mew to only 20 lucky entrants. CoroCoro received 78,000 entries, and sales of Red and Green skyrocketed. Nintendo, who considered the ancient black and white Game Boy to be at the end of its lifespan, was stunned by the sales and quickly capitalized on Poke Fever.
Hey, little buddy, want to ride?
Pikachu!
Yeah, whatever.
The games made their way to the United States as Pokemon Red and Blue, together with an anime, a trading card game, toys, clothes, backpacks, and anything else you could slap a Pokemon on. Soon, Pokemon had sold 20 million copies in Japan and the US alone. It was a full-fledged phenomenon, and with fans hungry for more monsters and the flashy new Game Boy Color on the horizon, Game Freak started to work on the next chapter of Pokemon history, one of the most crucial moments in the evolution of the series. Few games in history were more anticipated than Pokemon Gold and Silver. Thousands of people bought tickets to Pokemon the first movie just to get a glimpse of second-gen Pokemon like Meryl and Snubbull, along with a highly coveted holographic Pikachu card. Believe it or not, Game Freak thought Gold and Silver would be the final game in the series, which is why they set out to create the, quote, ultimate in Pokemon games. And boy, did they deliver.
But it's gonna take more than that to impress me.
When Pokemon Gold and Silver were released in Japan on November 21st, 1999, players found themselves in a brand new region, Johto, complete with 100 new Pokemon to catch, a day and night system, Pokemon breeding, shiny Pokemon, new Pokeballs, 2 types of Pokemon. Dark and Steel. Full color graphics and sprites, and best of all, a proper, utterly mind-blowing endgame. After conquering all 8 gyms and the Elite Four in Johto, trainers unlock the ability to return to the world of the very first game. Future Nintendo president Satoru Iwata built special compression tools to help fit the entire Kanto region on the same cartridge as Gold and Silver, complete with its signature gym leaders and Elite Four, with a few changes here and there. And once you kicked Kanto's ass, you headed to Mount Silver to challenge Red, the protagonist from the first game and inspiration for Ash Ketchum in the anime. Essentially, you have to battle you from the past in the future. Pokemon Gold and Silver definitely delivered on the ultimate Pokemon experience. My 10-year-old brain couldn't handle it.
Okay, bye.
And it established a precedent for what fans could expect from future releases. A new setting, new Pokemon, new systems, and a meaty, tasty endgame. But unfortunately, none of them ever really lived up to that promise. Every main series release that followed added very meaningful additions to the formula, but they never journeyed back to regions past. They emphasized battles and backtracking instead of giving us an entirely different environment to explore through battles. Now, before you okay boomer me in the comments, there are a lot of things that newer games gave us that I could not live without. Ruby and Sapphire gave us abilities and natures. Diamond and Pearl gave us global trading and Wi-Fi battles. Black and White gave us 156 new Pokemon and the Dream World. X and Y gave us full 3D models, Mega Evolutions, and Pokemon Ami, which let us finally play with Pokemon instead of battle them. While Sun and Moon gave us regional Pokemon forms and, you know, Z moves. So, you know, good stuff. Each one of these games also gave us a battle tower or battle subway or battle tree as our end game, which is great if you're a competitive player because a lot of the rewards helped you EV train your Pokemon, which is a whole other video. But this brings us to Gen 8. Sword and Shield, baby. There's a wild area, Dynamaxing and Gigantamaxing, Pokemon Camp, raid battles. And now that we finally have the game in our hands, we know that there's no going back to any previous regions. For the record, I'm having a blast and will say that Sword and Shield is a fantastic game that is just a joy to play. But hear me out. Why are battle insert place here still the standard endgame for a series that has just moved from a portable to a full-fledged console that, yes, is also portable? 20 years later, why are we still unable to travel to past regions? And more importantly, why has the game's plot and gameplay core remained the same since its inception? Pokemon is a series with some serious staying power, and during its lengthy reign on top, a lot of other franchises have entered the fray. Games that have actually improved on formulas and systems that were pioneered by Pokemon. While I am enjoying the new games, I still think Pokemon is far from perfect. So how could we fix the formula? With its massive pop culture presence, it's easy to forget that at the end of the day, Pokemon is still a role-playing game, which got me thinking about other established RPGs that have innovated while aging, series that Pokemon could learn from and build upon to improve as a whole, series like Fire Emblem. Pokemon gives us a ton of interesting NPCs, but the bonds you form with the other trainers could benefit from a little more functionality. For example, Fire Emblem Three Houses gives its supporting characters an opportunity to actually improve your party with skill lessons. Imagine if gym leaders had an unlockable membership upon defeat. Like if you could drop off your Bulbasaur for a week at the grass-type gym so it could learn to take less damage from fire types. It's just as rewarding as some TM I'll probably never use, plus it'd finally give all those trainers you juked on the way to the gym leader something to do. They kinda did this in Pokemon Sword and Shield with Poke Jobs, but to me it'd be cooler to know my Wooloo is training and not working an internship. Pokemon could also learn some lessons from Persona's Confidant system. In Persona 5, the main character forms bonds with supporting characters and NPCs, unlocking new abilities and perks that can be used in and out of battles. Pokemon already has a version of this. Bonds in earlier games like X and Y prevented Pokemon from fatal injuries, But what if bonding with your Pokemon for a bit meant they could learn moves a few levels earlier, or even evolve earlier? Ultimately, I'm just asking for more options to help me create my own Pokemon experience. Last year, World of Warcraft introduced level scaling, allowing players to go anywhere in Azeroth and challenge whatever monsters and enemies they found without fear of dying an unthinkable death. Can you imagine such a system in Pokemon? Players could tackle gyms in any order, with leaders scaling down or up for an even challenge regardless of your party's level. It would blow the game wide open so trainers could create their own journey instead of having to follow the same story beat for beat each and every time. I'm sure every trainer has their own wish list of what they want from the series, like, I don't know, a national dex with all of my hard-earned Pokemon available. But despite the controversy of Dexit, Sword and Shield has also made some very cool tweaks to the experience. For decades, we've been clamoring for a full-fledged Pokemon MMO, and the new 4-player raid battles are definitely a step in the right direction, injecting some Monster Hunter feel to co-op battles, which I'm personally a huge fan of. It's also adapting a cooking system similar to Breath of the Wild, allowing trainers to cook different kinds of curry rice to boost the stats of their Pokemon. Sword and Shield might lack the endgame I hoped for, but it does prioritize systems and quality of life improvements that are steering the franchise in the right direction. Do I think it can touch the godlike gold and silver? Honestly, I can't answer that right now. Maybe in time I'll truly appreciate Sword and Shield as the definitive upgrade to a franchise I felt was going stale. But for now, it's a solid foundation that, with a little inspiration, can bring us back to that ultimate Pokemon experience a man obsessed with bugs and his small team of programmers achieved 20 years ago. Thanks for watching, everyone. I want to know, what's your favorite gen of Pokemon? Are you a die-hard Gen 1er? Do you bleed black and white? Or is Sword and Shield your first Pokemon adventure? Leave a comment, let me know. Please subscribe to NowThis Nerd. And if you see Professor Oak, tell him I can ride my bike wherever I want.